We're going live for another week of our Power Hour. So I feel like saying we're joined here today. It's just that lead in, isn't it? It's like, what do you say? What would you like me to say? This? What's inspiring you? So today's Power Hour is all about how to ask for help. So how to unleash the power of help, how we can do that, what it looks like, what stops you from reaching out, signs that you do need to reach out. So, whether it is just for technical assistance or, help in, some bookkeeping or software, or especially around your business as well, how you can reach out for help and what are the signs to notice when you do need to reach out for help. And we'll talk about the ways that the community can help, where are the avenues, where are the options, and even how to ask for help, because some people don't know how to articulate, how to exactly ask that question, and they're a bit shy, and I think they should know. And I think that's probably one of the big conversations really is when you do go and ask for help, that you feel ashamed or you feel as if you should know the answer. And I should say that I am joined with Debbie Roberts today. Hi, Debbie. And Sharon Francisco is also going to share some of her gems around, as a mentor of, how the coaching and how that helps. So let's get into it. Where should we start? Is there a place that we should start first? Maybe it's around what I just mentioned, that we're too shy. We don't want to ask a dumb question. We don't want to get shot down. What are you experiencing, Debbie, from bookkeepers? Are you hearing bookkeepers, and what insights can you help people?
I think there's all those reasons that you mentioned, but one of the most common reasons I have come across and probably experienced myself is that we don't want to feel stupid. We think, is that a dumb question? Maybe I won't ask it. Can I find out somewhere else? Or in some Facebook communities, you get shot down in flames. You ask an innocent question and you get shot down in flames. So you think, well, I'm never going to ask a dumb or question again. In my business, I made it clear to my staff that I don't care how many questions they had to ask the question. I fostered an environment where they felt safe to ask questions, because in the time before I started recruiting, I cleaned up messes left behind by bookkeepers who didn't know the answer and guessed the answer because they didn't want to ask anyone, because they didn't want to look silly. They wanted to look like they're the ones that, I know everything, and I don't actually know everything, but I'm not going to tell anyone else that, so I'll just guess it, or I'll just shove it under the rug or somewhere like that so no one can actually find it until they're doing a spring clean, and then you find it all. And in fact, in the skills test that I created, there was actually, for Pure Bookkeeping, well, for my own business, but became part of the Pure Bookkeeping system, I actually created I took out missing information. So critical missing information that the bookkeeper needed to know. She could not, or he could not have completed that skills test without asking questions. That's how important asking questions was for me. I thought, if you are not prepared to ask questions during a skills test, then you won't do it when you're actually working for me. You'll try to fudge it and you'll try to pretend that you know. And so I actually weeded out people because they didn't ask questions. And there was actually one guy that did the skills test, and I was thinking, this is strange. He hasn't asked any questions. And an hour goes, or an hour and a half goes by, and he's finished the skills test, and he goes, right, I'm done. And I went, really? Wow, you actually finished that without asking so how did you know the answer to this when that was missing information? And he said, oh, I put that into suspense. So
Very
right.
helpful.
No, you're not a candidate, or you were, but you're not going to be my employee.
Yeah, exactly. Sharon, have you got some comments around this, around people when they're shy and when they don't want to ask the dumb questions?
Yeah, I guess I'm like a living example of this, because I've always been like, in jobs I've had in the past, I was a franchise relationship manager for Quest Apartments, and we'd sit around in the big boardroom table down in Melbourne, and all the franchise relationship managers, there was about 6 of us, and we'd get some sort of directive from the big boss, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and go out there and do that. And I'd go, oh, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't really get what you all just said. And I'd go, excuse me? I don't get what I don't understand what was just said, and I feel a bit like silly asking, but like I don't really get. And I think it was my innocence to begin with when I went into the corporate world. But then afterwards, we'd all be like, oh, Sharon, we had no freaking idea what he was saying. Thank goodness you sought that clarity. So what I kind of gleaned from that was, I don't know, I feel like being more honest in that sort of situation makes you more likable and approachable. So people then feel, I think what that makes people feel is safe to share with you, hey, this is happening to me, and I know you are really honest with what works and what doesn't in your world. So it kind of makes people feel more safe around you. So I've kind of just run with that. And honestly, like what you said, Deb, you get, that whole shot down in flames thing with you. I have been over the years like, oh, Sharon, really? Don't you know that? And you go, oh, no, I don't. But I reckon the good outweighs the bad with that. Like, I feel like I've got more advantages from being open and honest and saying, hey, I don't get it, or I need help, or I don't understand, than the worry about being shot down in flames, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah. Kelly Berger has joined us, and I'm just wondering if she is able to talk, because I'd love to ask you a question around. Yeah, okay. So while you were driving on your way to Canberra, thanks for joining us today. So obviously Kelly is the founder of the Bookkeeper Support Group of Australia. So thank you for joining us. It's a great topic for you to join us on, and because I know a lot of bookkeepers in your support group will often ask questions, and we have heard that people are too shy to ask questions. They don't want to get shot down. So do you have advice for the bookkeepers that, in that same vein, in helping them reach out to get assistance and be kind?
Yeah, look, it all comes down to, having that space where you can say, hey, I need to ask a question, and no matter how silly it may seem to you, everybody needs to ask a question. Like the amount of times I've asked my staff, I don't understand this, or can you help me nut this out because I'm looking at legislation or I'm looking at that. I'm not grasping it. Can you help me grasp it? So, I'm just like everybody else. I don't know everything. There's no possible way that in this industry we can know everything. So to be able to say, hey guys, I don't know this, can you help me, is such a big part of who we are and what we do. And I think people who are shooting people questions because they need to really check themselves, because you were in that position at one point in your career, in your life, where you needed to ask questions. So you have to understand that we don't know it all. There's no possible way we can know it all. And so these people are asking for support. So we should support each other and not shoot each other down because we haven't come across it before. Like, if you give me a real estate or legal trust entity to work with, I'm going to say, put my hand up and say, I've got no idea what I'm doing. Can somebody help? Because that's not my forte. That's not something I do. And I have to feel confident in a group as big as the one that we've got to say, hey guys, I need some help, and not be shot down for it. So I think think everybody just needs to, you know, one, have that feeling that they can ask the question and that, yes, they will get a response 90% of the time, or, you know, and they're not going to get shot down or belittled or, you know, treated badly. And the people who are in the industry who are really good at what they do have to understand that they will want a trainee and, you know, show some compassion and show some understanding. And I think we'll have a much better industry for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really great comments. Thank you for that. And drive safely. Like if you just put your hand up when you want to talk again, and you can come off mute. But if you choose to mute yourself, that's fine. Yeah, appreciate that. So there's some. We've got some audience. We've got people watching from Facebook land. Maybe you could give us an idea of what's stopping you from asking questions and asking for assistance. Is there?
Catherine's just 100% agreed. She's putting a comment there. Feel free to unmute yourself, Catherine, if you want to say your piece instead of just putting it in the chat box. You may or may not. Yeah, oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I guess look, I was one of those people who came in and started my business without having my BAS registration. And Callie's been a great support to me across my journey as well, personally, having reached out to her and connected a long time ago. But it is just, I think it comes down to, like Callie said, it's the people who have been in the industry a long time, remembering where they came from, and that for anybody to feel safe enough to approach a community of experts, you need to be friendly, warm and welcoming, even if it seems like a really stupid question to you. Yeah, that's what I think. It's that fear. People have a fear of being ridiculed and judged. And I'm someone who's definitely held back from asking questions across my journey as a result of seeing other people's responses to others' questions, if that makes sense. So I've always reached out privately and sought professional expertise outside of groups, purely based on essentially bullying and really negative comments that I've seen. Not on the whole. On the whole, it's really positive, and I don't want to make it sound like it's a really bitchy, negative place. But just every now and then, you can see a snide comment, or someone who's obviously thinks that they should know X, Y, and Z. I guess that's where my support for what Callie said. It's just like, yep, I champion that 100%.
Yeah, and I know, it's always difficult when you've got a lot of people in a group, a lot of different thoughts, and people are asking the same questions that, they might have come across for a long time. But it's, and I know Callie is always supportive of, making sure that people, respect each other and talk kindly and the rules of the group. And, and I know, Deb, you're very proud of our pure bookkeeping community because of that reason, that they are all supportive. We don't get any negative commentary or telling people you should know that, or why you're a BAS agent, or any of that. That it does allow for people to ask questions in a very safe environment.
Yeah, and I think one of the other, my experience has been with licensees in that when they're whatever it is implementing the system or other things that they're doing in their business. They, like bookkeepers, really good bookkeepers, have got a lot of experience. They've got qualifications. They're capable. They're great problem solvers. They're just the sort of people that you want to employ, and they figure out things. And what I often come across is, licensees that are implementing the system and they're trying to figure it out. And I say, why don't you just come along to the weekly support call and have a chat with other licensees about it? Because yes, you can. I know you're very capable and you will get there, but how about, let's make it easier for you rather than you just struggling through and, no, I can do this. I'm going to do this myself and I'm going to, push through and all of that. Hey, yeah, okay, I get that. And it's your choice. But listen, there's this fabulous supportive community, and the same in Kelly's group as well, of people that are actually willing to help you. So why not make the most of the support in the community? But I think it's fundamentally, especially for the experienced bookkeepers, because they are good problem solvers and they think, well, I should be able to figure this out myself. So that can put a bit of a roadblock in front of them. So I usually help them ease that roadblock open and say, come along and just join into the conversation, ask those questions. I just got off the phone to another licensee this morning, and she said, I didn't want to ask it at the weekly support call because I thought it was a silly question. And I went, oh,
Slap.
yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I want to go into now is around the signs that you experience before you reach out. And this can be around, especially around your business, building your business. And this is an ideal question, I guess, for Sharon, is around what are bookkeepers are experiencing before they actually ask for help, and what are the signs that they can identify to ask for help when they need it?
Yeah, I think there's layers that goes on when it's like, you mean like with employing people or bringing on people to do the work, Katrina?
More around mentoring, more around business development. So when they're trying to build their own business and they're doing it all themselves and they don't reach out for help. They don't reach out to, how do I do this? How do I build this business? How do I, control this monster? How do I stop being overwhelmed? And, it's those, what do bookkeepers feel before they reach out to you?
I don't know if there's any sort of consciousness in that. And the reason why I think that is because when I first joined Tanya, like I had a few coffees with my brother, and Tanya is my sister-in-law that I joined in business in 2013. And he was like, she's just in her office, just working, like day, and then she comes and has dinner, and then she goes back out at night, and she works on the weekend. And I feel like when I saw, and I chatted with my brother, and when I started in business with her in 2013, I could see that there wasn't any kind of thought of there is a different way. And even if there was a thought with that, the hill's so big to, like, where do you even start? And I'm so darn busy doing what I'm doing. Like, how am I even going to pull that together and do what I'm doing as well? So it's kind of that area I feel is kind of shut down. It's like, I've just got to work. I've just got to do this work. And I also see a level of exhaustion as well. Like with that, when they get up around that, 120, 150, 160 by themselves, or maybe a part-time person, it's just, you're just trying to do as much as you can to keep it together, to not let your clients down, I think. So I just feel like, and bookkeepers are such good people. They just want to do the right thing by their clients. So the motivation is to get the work done in time so they don't annoy their clients by being late or not doing it right. But I kind of think this is the best time now to reach out, because I don't know, things are the pace in which things are changing now around technology and AI and everything. Like, and I love when I talk with my son, and I don't know if it's all kids around 25 or around that mid-20s age, but I feel like they're kind of more willing to put their hand up and say, oh, I've got no idea with that. Well, I don't know. And I mean, he's an intelligent, amazing kid, but I feel like that age group, they are aware that there's so much that we've got at our hands. How can we ever know it all? And so they're willing to put their hand up and say, oh, I've got no idea. You'd have to go and talk to somebody else, or I need to learn about that. So I think this is a beautiful time to be able to step into that and own it, because how can we know about every darn app and new sort of legislation? I mean, what bookkeepers and accountants did over COVID was like monumental. Like the work that they were doing behind the scenes to serve their clients. How will we ever know? Like, we're all waiting to hear the releases from the government to see what we're going to do next, and then I know that there was so much overwhelm then. So I kind of think it's time to sort of take those shackles off and go, if you don't know, you just like, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I need help with that. This is the best time, I think, in the timeline over the last sort of 20, 30 years, that we can happily put our hand up to say, I don't know. And not feel so sort of like we should know everything, because how can we know it all?
I think one of the things is like, and this goes for most people, most human beings, is that we want to look good.
Yeah.
So in whatever that means to every individual. And personally, I've been like you, Sharon. I've never worried about asking a dumb question or something. If I don't get it, I'm not going away until I get it. But there are some people that and I think it's probably subconsciously but underneath it all is this fear of looking bad. What will people think of me? When you think of the fundamental things that go on in people's lives, in people's minds, what will people think of me if I ask that question, or if I ask for help? What does that say about me? I need to be able to figure this out myself. Will they think that I'm dumb? Will they, so there's a lot of turmoil, I think, that goes on. I don't remember experiencing that at all, but and that's what I started off by saying, that I wanted to instill that trust in my team, that they felt comfortable to ask any question. Because if I was some sort of person that made it uncomfortable, oh, you should know that. Why even, or if I made it uncomfortable for them, or they didn't trust me that I would treat them respectfully, then they're going to stop asking me questions. When they stop asking me questions, and they were likely to get it wrong, and that's going to make it much worse for me. So I gave them a safe environment and made it quite clear, a question. I don't care what the question is. I will look at the systems and make sure that I document the system, so that you don't ask the same question 25 times. That I'm not a big fan of. But ask me a few times and I'll go, right, okay, let me just document this, so that you can go back to the library of information, and then you can do your research yourself out of our library and of our systems and things like that. That's where I kept developing the systems, because I actually didn't want them to come and ask me. So ultimately I wanted to train them to ask questions, but then to have a resource that they could go to find the answer themselves.
Yeah, that's a great resource, and it takes a lot of time. Yeah, Kelly, I'd love to hear from you about, because you coach and you work with a lot of bookkeepers, so they're reaching out for help for you. So if you can recognize some of the signs that people get to before they reach out for help.
Yeah, so they tend to take on clients and just they focus on getting the client. What they don't focus on is getting the systems in place to deal with taking on the client, the next client, the next client, the next client. And then they're like, oh my God, I can't deal. I don't know where I'm at, don't know what I'm doing. And then it's kind of that overwhelm. They're like, oh, what can I do? I've got to work on my business, but how do I do that? And that's when they go, oh, hang on, that's going to work for me. Like, a lot of my courses are being sold out because it's focused on when you're starting a business and when you're, what systems you need to have in place. And if you don't have systems and you're feeling that overwhelmed, then, let me help you sort it out. So, but they wait until they've got those first few clients, and they're getting to that point where they're working, 70 hours a week, and then they're like, oh, hang on, what am I doing? Like, I don't have time to even work on my business. So I try and catch them before they get to that point, so that, I do a lot of webinars about, putting systems in place as you're starting, so that you've got something to go with, whether it be a client manual or, a list of questions to ask the new client, your letter of engagement, all those basic things. So I do a regular webinar for that, because that way people can just buy it and go, oh, okay, well, I just sit and listen, and they get all the templates and everything, but they sit and listen. And that's the thing, is they take an hour out of their time. They sit there and they go, yep, I'm going to do that. And whether they attend or not, they still get the recording, so they still get that information. And then they start going, well, hang on, I need to change. And that's when change starts to happen. But it generally doesn't happen until they hit that overwhelm where they're just ripping out their hair and they're like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. They're on a verge of a breakdown. They're just absolutely, you know, they don't know what's up, what's down. They've got no family time, and that's when they ask for help. And that's, we've got to try and get them before they get to that point. So a lot of my stuff, again, as I said, is to try and get them before they hit that point, and give them that support.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, you know, the reason for this topic is to say it's okay, that it's okay to reach out and to identify it's going to happen to you. If you're building a business, if you're putting clients on, it's going to happen sooner than you think. So reach out for help, reach out for your systems, find ways to get your support, whether it is through Facebook groups or networking, the associations that are out there, the, you know, Australian Bookkeepers Network and ICB, and a few of the others, to make sure that you're getting that support and the guidance to be able to get to the next step and to survive what you're currently doing, so that you can keep, you know, so you can reach your potential. Like, all of us have so much potential in the business, in ourselves, and we get stopped because of whether it's the systems or the inability to be able to manage ourselves through all of this. So, you know, it's really important to know that there is help out there, and that you need help to reach your potential, and it can be done. I was wondering if, Helen, are you interested in jumping off mute? I can see you working in the background there about, hi. And maybe if you've got some experience around, you know, asking for help, and at what point that you know, did that, you know, if you can identify some experiences or stories around, you know, the need for asking to help, and what you did and how that has helped you get to build your business that you've got today.
Apart from when I was really young and very, very shy, I think you get to a point, it's probably been a good 20 years. I'm possibly the opposite. I don't stop asking questions, because I hate that feeling of walking away and, oh, I should have asked this, or I didn't ask that. So I'm okay with asking questions. I think if I am working alone and there's something I'm not sure on, I'll be really reluctant to reach out to social media and put something on there. As you know, discussed, people can be really nasty and you don't need that. Some people's comments, some people just naturally are quite dry in their responses, and you can take it a different way. And I just think I need to focus on what I'm doing and find the problem to work out, you know, to move on. I don't want those extra social media interruptions when they come through. So I don't mind jumping on if it's something I can help someone with. But yeah, very rarely I tend to watch what I would put out there in help and everything. So yeah.
So where do you go to ask for help?
Accountants. If
Okay.
it's a bookkeeping query, I will ring accountants and I will discuss it with them. I'm quite fortunate. I have accountants who I have a close relationship with, that I can just run something by them. It's no different if they're looking at reports or, you know, trying to look at something in a client's file, and they'll ring me and ask me for, you know, where would I find this? You know, this is here, how do I get to that? So I think that's a two-way thing when you've got that relationship. So I like to go to, you know, the person in the know, I guess, that will help with that. So on some of the Facebook feeds, I don't know if people are accountants or they're bookkeepers, but when I've got that resource already to just pick up the phone or, you know, email an accountant and say, oh, when you've got a quick minute, you know, can we have a chat? So they're really helpful in that way. And I guess it's no different to, you know, it branches out to, depending on the topic or the issue I've got, I'll go to the best person I know in that field to ask them directly. So,
that's a really good example. What about for your business as well, for when you're building your business and, you know, you are getting a lot of clients and you might not have your systems, or, you know, your staff, you don't know you must have some questions about how to, what's the best way to go forward, around pricing, or, anything that you are deciding to build the next step of your business. Are there places where you reach out for that, or the type of help that you need from that? That's pretty typical for other books.
I'm really fortunate. My business partner is Sharon Francisco. I don't like the term business coach.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I love it.
So she's one of my partners. There's a lot of broad advice. I'm a huge fan, if people don't already know, of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I get so much information, resources from that alone. And I listen to that every morning when I drive to work, because it's wherever I go, it's always a half-hour kind of drive. So I can get a good full podcast in, and every podcast has its own theme. So I'll just make a note of what that one was about. And generally, if I have a question that I just need that time to sit alone and reflect myself before I reach out externally, then I will go to a certain podcast and just re-listen to what that person said, because that sometimes resonates with you. It's not always bookkeeping. It could be somebody about value or your pricing or understanding people. So I've got that too. And look, honestly, I'd probably feel more comfortable reaching out to the pure bookkeeping community. I feel that's safe. Feels like a safe place. Everyone's always so nice. As Debbie said earlier, we're really lucky to have that. Yeah, so, and I do have a staff member who's quite business savvy. I can talk about generally client work, client, our market client, that kind of thing with her. And my other resource, I have a colleague who, ironically, I trained in bookkeeping 20 years ago. He actually runs a bookkeeping business now that is quite large, and he's a great resource to go to. Always very helpful. He's on his whole client or his business model is completely different to mine, but it's just another perspective to run an idea by.
That's great. It sounds like you've got quite a lot of areas to get support, and some paid and some free.
Yeah.
Which I think is important to have that mixture as well. And I know, Deb, you got support from your coach, from Peter Cook, but I imagine you got a lot of free support that you were looking, reading books and our personal development and stuff like that. But asking for help by experts, as you'd mentioned, Helen, as well.
Yeah. The ABN was my big source of technical advice and things like that when I was growing my business. But I know the ICB also is a great source of technical support. In terms of business building, it was definitely Peter Cook as my business coach. And I did that began my lifelong and love of business books. So it just became a sponge. It's like I knew there was a lot of stuff about running a business that I didn't know anything about. I was a technician, bookkeeper, technician in Michael Gerber's words, bookkeeper, good at that, had no knowledge or experience about running a business. Didn't know anything about marketing, anything about recruiting, anything about mindset and what does a leader do? I had no idea. Management, all of those different domains of your business. It's been an amazing and wonderful journey, but it's, if you think you know everything, then that's about the limit of where you're going to be. It's like being open to new ideas and taking everything in like a sponge, which is why the community groups are really important. When you go in with the idea of what am I going to learn today, or what can I share today, you go in with a giving kind of attitude to your community groups, wherever that is. And when you're sharing on Facebook in Kelly's group, what can I learn today? What can I give today? How am I going to help someone today? That's the way the world goes round. It's got to be that.
I actually forgot to mention there is one more resource, Kelly's group.
Yes.
We actually have Kelly has just started in her office once a month. I think 8 of us, Kelly, maybe more, 10 possibly, I don't know. Business owners will get together and we'll talk about business things. So that's another face-to-face resource that I just thought was missing, because, you know, we do everything remotely and Zoom meetings. So I thought that was another good thing, to actually sit in a room with bookkeeping owners and talk shop. So
yeah, that's awesome. And it's also good to actually sit in a room or, you know, network with business owners that are not bookkeepers.
Yeah.
So you're not just learning everything about a bookkeeping business, you're actually learning about websites or marketing, and, you know, so there's a lot of learning facilities or, you know, opportunities from other businesses that you're networking with as well, you know, finance and yeah, so lots of opportunities. So it's really important to keep your networking events or activities up on a regular basis. It's a good way of asking for questions, and it's also helping your clients, because your clients might have questions, or, you know, they might be wanting some solution. You can't provide it, but you could get that from either your networking mates, or, you know, somebody that knows somebody in your groups to be able to help that as well. So I think it's part of our existence, part of our, you know, business existence, is to be looking for ways to gain information, gain education, constantly educating ourselves. And it's not always technical stuff. I think it's really important that we do also ask those questions around business, because otherwise we just, as you said, Deb, we just get stuck in the being the technician if you think that you know everything. Whereas if you stretch it out to the next bubble, which is the leadership bubble or the management bubble, how do I manage a team? How do I lead this business? So yeah, you reach outside of that bookkeeping bubble to you know, find some answers, find some help.
You know what concerns me, Katrina, is like just hearing the feedback. It sounds like I don't know, I haven't seen too much of that negative sort of feedback in posts, but I just wonder how much of those, like, that kind of feedback in those posts will stop us from asking those questions, or stop us from reaching out and staying in our little box. And I know I see Kelly, she's like, you know, I sometimes think I've got to channel my inner Kelly, because you're like a fiercely protective mother when it comes to that sort of stuff. I've seen you shut people down very quickly. It's really nice to know that you've got their back. And I know, like, I constantly over the years have heard people in the pure bookkeeping system say, like, you know, I feel really safe in this environment, because it feels like, you know, I'm not on there a lot, but I don't see too much negativity on there. But I just wonder how much of that, you know, you get a little bit of negative feedback, how much of that's stopping us from reaching out and asking for help. And I thought, if you don't mind, Katrina, I was going to, have you ever seen this, I'm okay, you're okay? Have you seen that?
No.
So this one's really cool. That first one's, I'm not okay, you're okay, meaning I don't know, but you do. And the one underneath it here is, I'm not okay, you're not okay. The other one is, I'm okay, you're okay. And the bottom one is, I'm okay, you're not okay. So the top one, I'm not okay, you're okay, is when a person feels powerless. So they don't feel like they feel like everyone else knows, but I don't know. So I feel powerless. The one underneath that, I'm not okay, you're okay, the person can feel helpless and worthless. So they feel like, I'm not okay and you're not okay either. I don't know and you don't know. The top one there is, I'm okay, you're okay, which means, you know, I feel like I can get it, I'm happy, and I feel like you've got it too. Now that bottom one there, I'm okay, you're not okay, this is where a person feels victimized. And I reckon this is where the people that are posting these nasty little things, I reckon they actually feel like, I'm okay, but you're not okay because you don't get it. And apparently I saw this years ago, and just through the talking, I thought I'd draw it up quickly. Basically what this means, it comes from apparently a deep-seated feeling of like back in the day, like when somebody felt like they were just completely victimized, and then they've got to get that out to the world and say, just because you don't know that answer, I'm going to shut you down because you should know that answer. That says more about them than it does about you. But what it's doing to you is stopping you reaching out.
Mm.
You're not ready. So it's paralyzing you because of their crap. It's not your crap. It's theirs. And just because they feel like they're okay and you're not. And it's some sort of psychological deep thing that happened to them when they felt like a victim years ago. I just thought that might be helpful to kind of put into perspective, to not stop you from reaching out and asking, and maybe even nicely putting people a little bit, I don't know, I'm a bit naughty sometimes when people say things. I'll go like, I'll ask, is everything going okay in your world if they're nasty? Or if I get beeped at the lights, I'll wave. Hey. I think nicely you can sort of point out to people if they have any kind of heart, hey, maybe I'm being a cow by saying that.
Yeah.
So don't stop posting questions just because you've had maybe a little bit of negative feedback, because it's their stuff, not yours. It's not that because you don't know, it's not you should know, it's just that they're their problem.
Yeah.
I love that analogy, because what we often do is sit with, don't say that, we usually, chopping down the person that's being negative and say, you're excluded from the group, or stop being, mean and stop being a bully. You're a bully. Let's put a target or a name on that person. Whereas you're turning it around and saying, for the people that are asking for help, it's okay to ask for help. And if you are listening to other people bully you, you're still okay. You protect yourself. You are not being bullied because you are a worse person, or you are, dumb or stupid or asking stupid questions. It's because you're saying the responsibility is on the other person. So you put up a question, you get bullied, you get attacked, you go, okay, some people are attacking me. That's on them. They've got some issues to deal with. You might not feel sorry for them in terms of, oh, you poor you, but it's like having empathy for the other person, because there's something going on in their world that is making them respond like that, is what you're saying. It's okay, I'm okay. There are still some good responses coming through that I can appreciate the good answers, and just take the, I'd have a Tai Chi metaphor, or if that's the metaphor. I think when negative things come at you, you do this Tai Chi and just let it go on by. So it's just like negative, go on by. I do that. I don't know if anybody's done their Tai Chi, but I have that metaphor. It's just like, you come at me on your bike, So it's having those negative comments come at you, bullying you, saying you're wrong, you're stupid. It was like, let them pass. There's something wrong with, you've got something going on in your world. It's not my business. I can't solve you. I'll just take on all the good vibes.
Yeah.
I love that analogy. It's a different way of looking.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that's I think Kelly does that beautifully. I think you manage that really well, Kelly.
Yeah, something that I tend to do is I tend to tell people return to sender. That negative energy coming out, I go return to sender. It's not mine. It's yours. You deal with it. It's enough come into my energy, so to speak. So I'm not taking on their negativity or their, anger or whatever's going on in their world. It's nothing to do with me. So it's a return to sender. I don't need it.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a great way of educating people that are asking for help to not go back into into their shell, because we want to encourage people that do want to ask for help, that need the help, that we're here for them, and then 90% of us are. It's just the 10% might have had a bad day that day and said, oh, for goodness sake, why don't you know that answer? And it's nothing on you. It's just something that's happening in their world, which is good. A good lesson.
Yeah, and something that's probably happened to them years ago. I love this post. A child who is not embraced by the village will burn down the village to feel the warmth. Isn't that? I reckon that's a good analogy for that, because that's again, it's their stuff. It's not your stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I love it.
I think
love it.
I think the general message here in this call today is, number one, it's okay to ask questions, and in fact we encourage you all to ask questions in your own communities and to feel safe to be able to do that. And if negative things come at you, see it for what that is. It's actually, even though someone may have directed a negative comment to you around that, it actually has more to do with what's going on in their world. And I really like the way, you know, you've given some ideas, Katrina, and Kelly as well, return to sender. It's hard when I can see when you're young and you lack confidence, you take it all on your chest or on your chin and you get knocked about a bit, and it's hard, which is why I think these sort of forums are really important. And Kelly, in your forum on the Successful Bookkeeper, to be that that mama bear kind of thing, that we are the experienced ones and we're going to protect the little cubs as they're coming up. And it's like a legacy, really, that when you're raising these little cubs up to be mature, experienced men and women in the next generation, and there's a legacy there, and then they will pass on. They'll be looking after the cubs in the next generation. It's a wonderful, it's a worthy thing to be participating in. It's a really important thing to be helping. It's that one person that's going through, that's getting things thrown at them because they have been brave enough to ask a question. It shouldn't be about bravery. Questions should be just a normal, that's what we do. People ask questions and they answer it. But the reality is, especially I think when I bet you any negative person would not speak that way to someone if they were face to face in a room with them. They would not shoot them down in flames. They would treat them completely differently. And the online environment, as we all know, terrible things have happened in the world with online bullying and things like that. So it is our responsibility, I think, to as the experienced people who know how to deflect and who know how to dodge and we know what's going on. We don't know everything, but we know when something comes at us, we go, hang on a minute, that's not okay. But the young people, they're still to learn that. And I think it's our responsibility to teach them, to put them in a safe environment, to tell the other people that are being negative to back off, that all questions are welcomed. And that will then encourage the little cubs to come up and grow up into being, when I say grow up, I don't mean, I mean internally, emotionally, with their confidence, and no matter what age they are. And then they will pass on that legacy.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Curious to know anybody that's on the call today. So we've got, several people not showing their screens as well, and those that are on Facebook watching. Your feedback around getting help. Have you reached out for help, and what's your experience been? Is anybody wanting to come off mute? Sharon?
Or even if you've got a bit of a roadblock around it, have you identified, has this been helpful to identify? Sharon, you've come off mute.
I just find that for me, I've got a couple of really close friends that are bookkeepers and accountants that I can bounce things off, and then anything else, it's Debbie, I suppose. If we've got, and because we've got a lot of resources in pure bookkeeping, a lot of it is already answered. I just got to search for the questions. I just got to search for the answers, but yeah. Being in your industry, like Australian Bookkeepers Network or ICB, there's a lot of resources that I get from them and from, but mainly I've got a couple of really close friends, and I don't think she'll mind saying if I've got any QBO questions, it's Jacqueline that I go to.
Yeah, she's on the call.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Any roadblocks in asking questions, or you're happy
Yeah,
with?
I've felt that, you know, before when I've gone to ask a question on social media that, you know, I've felt that before, and people are like, what's a basic question? You know, you shouldn't be a BAS agent asking this or something like that. You know, it's just, it's very intimidating. So I really don't ask on social media at all, except for pure bookkeeping, because I have never found that with pure bookkeeping.
Yeah, and we're very proud of that as well. So thanks Sharon, coming off mute. Is somebody, Jacqueline's off mute?
My camera's playing up.
Okay.
I was terrified to ask. Actually, I didn't even know there was a bookkeeper community until I joined PBS.
Okay.
And then I realized that there's just so many people that are so supportive. And if I have a question, I would ask PBS Inner Circle first, because I feel secure asking it. And because beforehand, I wouldn't ask anybody. I just spend hours researching and trying to find out. I have found Kelly's group very great at times. And I love the fact when she goes on and she closes somebody down if they're being a bit of a bully. That's just so positive that she does that. But I've found in the PBS one that no one's ever had to be closed down. I love that support, the unconditional, non-judgmental, because we all have brain dead days. Like, you know the answer, but it just won't come into your head, probably because you've got so many other thousands of things going on. And I found out with the accountability group on Monday that we will ask questions because we know everyone else is in the same boat, that we just sometimes need to talk something over. And if you've got a challenge, talking it over with somebody, the answer may come to you. And
that's very true. Like, you know, sometimes you just need to say it out loud, and you go, exactly. Oh, that was a silly thing to think. Obviously, I know the answer to that. So it's just articulating it, saying it out loud, and often, that happens a lot.
Yeah,
and sorry,
Sharon Francisco is wonderful anyway with all her stuff, but Sharon Law has been an amazing support, as have a few other people that you just sometimes need that support, because most of us are working alone, or we're the owner of a business with staff and you don't want to talk it over with your staff.
That's one of the best things about being part of a community, that you can have a one-on-one conversation with somebody because you actually know them, well.
Yes.
And you feel comfortable doing that. So reaching out inside your own community, inside your own network, is really valuable, to make sure that, if you are a bookkeeper listening to this and you are feeling a bit isolated and you're a member of one of the big communities, either, reach out to a smaller group within that community, or find a smaller community as well to help you. So you feel a little bit tighter with a group, a little bit, more secure, more safe, and more comfortable in asking the questions. Like, you've said, Jacqueline, you've got the accountability group. You can really drill down on some questions and find solutions, because there's, 3 or 4 or 5 of you in a session, and you can really brainstorm something and you feel comfortable doing that. So I think, bookkeepers need to find that solution for themselves. I know, I was the host of an ABN group, and they would love just to be able to talk with other bookkeepers. And they sit around and have a cup of coffee, and they just feel really comfortable doing that. So You know, I do urge you, if you don't have that, to reach out for it. There's so many options out there that to be able to find that support.
When I
And-
first started my online journey, I joined an ABN coffee club and it was recently closed down. So I contacted the ABN and said, well, what you need to do it? And I've started up one bit closer to me. And we've only had 3, but it's growing because a few bookkeepers just wanted somebody else to talk to go out for coffee and talk about things. So it's been really great, the support there.
Well done, Jacqueline. That's good on you for doing that. And I'd also like to add that I just jumped online to Kelly's Facebook group, the Bookkeeper Support Group. There's 5,800 members in that group. And I don't know if it takes a full-time admin person or the equivalent of to actually manage the comments. And I think with that number of people, kudos to you, Kelly, and your admin team, that actually the numbers of, you know, not nice comments or people having a go at someone is relatively small for the number of posts that are made in that community as well. So kudos to you and your team there.
Yeah, that's awesome. It was one of the first groups that I joined as well.
Yeah.
When it came on, I was one of the first. Do appreciate, you know, getting the answers from there, and and meeting Kelly at one of the ABN meetings, I think, or maybe it was one of your Facebook group meetings that you had.
And I'd also add the reason that those snide comments are relatively few by comparison with the number of posts that are made is because Kelly is like a mama bear, and and you don't want to poke a bear. Poke the bear.
I'm quite the angry mama bear when that stuff happens, and I don't let it slide.
No, that's
Well
right.
done. We need to remember what it was like when we started. Okay, it's totally different technology-wise and all that, but we were all out there for the first time once, and remember what it was like feeling like that, and do what you can that somebody else doesn't feel that lost. And they may not know how to use a program or something, and you can do it with your eyes closed. Well, fine, but give them the support to get to working it the way that you can.
Yeah, helping them out. It gives you a lot of good feelings. Not sure what the word is. Sharon might know what the word is, but it's a good feeling, isn't it, to help others?
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to add, like, I don't know. I know now Debbie's got the weekly support call, which I just think, I know when I was trying to build a bookkeeping business, I'd get overwhelmed. And I think it was about every 6 weeks I'd ring you, Deb, and you'd just pump my tires up again and off I'd go again. But to have you weekly is like, I would have been on that call every week then, but they say that we're the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And I reckon when you've got groups like Kelly's and Deb's weekly support call, they're the places we should be hanging out, because that's where your tires get pumped up and you feel fantastic and you go back out into the world to face it again. And I think that's a big choice. That's a choice that we make of where we hang out and who we listen to. And it's all there now. I mean, you know, with groups like Kelly's and Pure Bookkeeping and the support calls, like they're endless, Katrina, what you've put on, like with Tuesday and support calls and all of that. It's all there for us to be a part of all the time.
Yeah, that's right. And indeed, these power hours, these weekly power hours, as well as, you know, there is so many forums out there which, you know, can get a bit overwhelming, and you don't want to spend most of your times on these events, but find the ones that you are comfortable with, or the ones that work in with your time frame, giving, you know, the trusted advisors that you trust who who's talking, and you know, the contribution that they're doing, and join in and be engaged as well, because those forums are wanting to hear from, you know, the people that are attending. They want to share stories so that you know that you learn so much from other people. So, you know, being engaged and being on there contributing is all part of our learning curve as well. So yeah, that's awesome. All right, we are at the top of the hour. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today and contributing and sharing. And thanks, Callie, for joining in on the car. It was a last minute, like, you know, would you be interested in joining us? And you've certainly got,
It
you know,
makes time go faster.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Makes the trip go faster. That's good.
yeah, that's great. And thanks, Sharon and Debbie, for you know, contributing as well as we talk through this topic. And next week we're talking about a business health check. Deb will be with Peter Broberg to talk about how to do a business health check and all things around that. So look forward to that. And thank you so much, everyone, and see you around the community. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.